Hello, everybody. Before I start today's podcast of curveballs and changeups, I have a news bulletin, all-star news bulletin. First, the Giants had 3 pitchers named to the all-star team today. It was Logan Webb, Robby Ray, and reliever Randy Rodriguez making it to the all-star team today. And for the Oakland A's, Brent Rooker was added to the roster, joining Jacob Wilson, the rookie starter for the American League. So that's the news of the day, and now on to the regular scheduled programming. We've got a rubber match here in West Sacramento between the A's and the Giants. That's next on Curveballs and Changeups, a baseball podcast straight out of Sacramento. I'm Steve Harmon, and this is a podcast for Giants and A's fans and baseball fans in general. I played the game, once hit a Grand Slam home run in an over 30 baseball league, and I covered the Hum Baby Giants and Bash Brothers A's as a sports writer in the 1980s and early 90s. I've been a baseball fan since 1967 when the kid down the block introduced me and my brothers to the game. A note, I normally host separate episodes on the Giants and A's, and you can find both on platforms that host podcasts, but on this occasion, I'm combining the two, of course, because they're playing in the rivalry weekend. All right, so Saturday night, the Giants were able to win the second game of the series 7-2 behind the pitching of Logan Webb and the big RBI bat of Willie Adames, who drove in 4 runs in the 7-2 win. Logan Webb went 6 2/3 innings, gave up 2 runs, and he actually fared better than he might have otherwise if not for that beautiful double play ground ball he throws. The A's really showed some fight, and they had a real shot at getting back into the game in the 6th inning. It was 7-2 at the point when the A's loaded the bases with 1 out. They had scored a run on Nick Kurtz's double, his second double of the game off of Logan Webb. I have to say something about Kurtz in a second. But and then after Shea Langelier's walk to load the bases, Tyler Soderstrom hit a ground ball to second base for a double play to end the inning with no more scoring. And that would be it for the rest of the game, 7-2. Soderstrom had hit into a double play earlier in the game, the second inning. So he actually had a hand in cutting short some of the potential offense for the A's. Just a note on Soderstrom, we all remember how hot he was to start the season. He had 9 home runs. I mean, by April 18th, he was leading, I think, the major leagues with 9 home runs at that point. But since then, he has just been in a long funk. He went, the rest of the April after that, he was 8 for 39. And then in May, he slumped to 227 with just 2 homers and 12 ribbies. And in June, actually in May, he hit 241, with 3 homers and 11 ribbies. And then in May, he dropped down to even more of a funk with a 227 batting average with 2 homers. And then in July, so far, he's hit 167. So in all, since that tremendous start, beginning on April 19th, he has hit 227 with just 5 homers and 29 ribbies, and that's in 247 at-bats. So that has been kind of a shortfall in that lineup for the A's that came up and bit them last night when they had a shot at Logan Webb. Webb was pretty dominant through the first 4 innings. His pitch count was just minuscule, and he was getting hitters out on his beautiful changeup. But they started to kind of catch up to him, and it started with a Nick Kurtz double in the 2nd inning. Nick Kurtz seemed to have him figured out where others hadn't, and that was that he was looking low for that changeup, and he got it. And he hit one ball that almost went out, hit the wall for a double, and then he had the second double in the 6th inning. But by then, the Giants pretty much had it wrapped up. Luis Severino had another rough outing in Sacramento. He now falls to 2-10 with a 5.30 ERA overall. given his last start in New York against the Yankees, when he was out of the game by the fifth inning, that hope of his to possibly being traded by the trading deadline might have gone out the window. He just has not been effective either at home or away lately, and so his trade value may have dipped even further. And that means he's got to face at least the rest of the season in Sutter Health Park, which has not been favorable to him. Before I go further, I wanted to drop a little trivia question, and here it is. Can you name the Giants and A's players, the players who've played for both the Giants and A's who made it into the Hall of Fame? And I will give you a hint. There are only 3 of them. All right, so and back to the series here. Of course, the A's won the first game 11-2. It was a one-sided blowout. Justin Verlander was just hit all over the park. And, of course, all of the Justin Verlander haters came out in droves to denounce him and to call for his removal from the rotation. Of course, forgetting that just a start before, Verlander had gone 6 innings, allowed just 1 run, but yet again had terrible luck and was unable to get the victory. The 0-6 mark just is just so blatant to most fans that they can't see past that. They can't see that Verlander has actually been a solid starter for most of his starts. I mean, if he had won the previous game, and if he had won 2 or 3 of the games that he should have won earlier this year, I don't think it would be that much of an issue. It's just that fans want the results. They do not care about any of the the subtleties and nuances of statistics. They just want the numbers. They see the results, and they are not happy. But A's fans, on the other hand, oh my goodness, what a display of offensive prowess on the A's part. They scored a run in the first inning and just burst out for 4 in the second, added another in the third, and that was going to be it for Verlander. 6 runs off of him. Then they added another 3 in the 6th and 2 in the 7th just to make sure the Giants fans in the stands, who outnumbered the A's fans by a huge number, so that the Giants fans would know that this was a total wipeout. The Giants were only able to save a little face with a Brett Wisely home run in the 8th inning and then adding another in the 9th. But the A's in that first game had great production from the top of the order. Lawrence Butler had 2 hits and 4 bats, scored 3 runs. Jacob Wilson had a pair of RBIs. Brent Rooker had 2 hits and 2 ribbies. Nick Kurtz had his home run, a 2-run shot off of Verlander. And I mean, it just kept on going, really. The Soderstrom had a hit and 3 at-bats, and then Max Muncy was 2 for 4 and with a double. And then Denzel Clark went 2 for 4, had that mammoth blast to left center field, 471 feet. I mean, it is amazing the power that he has. He is a long and wiry guy, but he's very strong. And when he gets a pitch he can handle, it was just a 90-mile-an-hour cutter. But he showed what he can do with pitches he can handle. The problem is that there are so many pitches that he is unable to handle. The changeup away, for one. That was the pitch that the next day Logan Webb had him eating out of his hands on. But what a series so far for Clark. He went 2 for 4 with that home run, scored twice, 2 ribbies in the first game. That he had a triple in the next game off of the center fielder Jung-Hoo Lee's glove. Of course, that was interesting. I think you listen to the Giants broadcasters on this, and they haven't quite figured it out. And then you also hear Bob Melvin afterwards. Melvin was critical of some of the play from the first game when Patrick Bailey, the catcher, was unable to catch a pop-up behind the plate. when it drifted past him, and then Jung-Hoo Lee was then able to make that play on Denzel Clark's triple. Wait, that was in the first game actually, yeah. So, but what they don't understand is that the sky in Sacramento, before the lights take effect, is one of the most difficult skies to play in. You just can't see the ball. You can't identify where the ball is. It is really difficult. And then you add the wind, because this is just a single-level stadium, and you've got the wind and the dusky sky, and it is just almost impossible to see the ball, much less catch it. So that's what happened in my view, on the Patrick Bailey pop-up, and then on Denzel Clark's drive that hit off of Jung-Hoo Lee's glove in center field. But so in that first game, as I said, 11-2, A's won the opener, and now we head into the rubber match. But let me, and so what we have here. Well, before I go into the rubber match, though, I did want to take a look at some of the trends going on right now. Willy Adames had 3 hits yesterday, 3 for 5 with 4 ribbies. Had a 2-run single in the first inning with 2 strikes off of Severino when Severino threw him a changeup down, and Adames was able to scoop it for the base hit. That's one of those pitches where I thought Severino should have just gone with a high heat. Adames is not the best hard fastball hitter. He really isn't. And I don't know why Severino didn't have the book on him on that, but he sped up his bat and gave him a chance to get that 2-run single in the first inning. That was the first inning where Severino hit both Matt Chapman and Elliot Ramos. That was en route to loading the bases. He walked Mike Yastrzemski to start the game. So he loaded the bases on not a hit. And you could see the frustration from the Giants. They have been hit by pitch only the second most in the major leagues, 17 times since May 8th or whatever it is. But it's the kind of thing. And then, of course, you have Giants fans out there crying for revenge. And, even Kruko and Kuiper are speculating on whether or when Logan Webb will come up with his retribution shot. But the thing is that we saw what happened last time when Hayden Birdsong was given the task of throwing a vengeful pitch. It just completely took him out of his game. And so, yes, Logan Webb actually threw a couple in tight to the A's hitters. Brent Rooker was one of them. But no retribution hit by pitch. And there was no reason for it. Nobody is trying to hit. Luis Severino was not trying to hit Elliot Ramos. Ramos crowds the plate. And he was, I think his fastball got away from him on Matt Chapman. It was more frustration that Chapman is just coming off the injured list after hurting his hand on a slide to first base. But it was in the area of his hand, so that gets scary. And you could see Chapman mouthing to Severino, "Come on, man!" But that was all they needed to do. But the fans are way overreacting to this. They think the Giants are being wusses about not protecting their hitters. But as Mike Kruko says, after one of your hitters gets hit, or 2 or 3 of them get hit, as the case was, the first guy that the Giants hit, the Giants are going to get either a warning or even an ejection from the game. So it's an unfair burden that they have to carry. And also, though, you don't send a message to the rest of the league by throwing at a team that isn't, they have no reason to be throwing at your guys other than that Luis Severino was wild. So I do hope that Birdsong again does not fall into the trap of trying to be the tough guy and protecting his hitters, because it only serves him ill. But anyway, going back to Adames, he had a second 2-run single, again with 2 strikes off of Severino. and that was for the Giants' second 2-run rally. That made it 4-0 last night, and that was in the third inning. I'm sorry, it was 4-1 at that point. That's right. The A's had made it to 2-1 in the second, and the Giants took a 4-1 lead on Willy Adames' second 2-run single, again with 2 strikes. That was the third inning when Severino actually got the first 2 outs. Remember, this is a 2-1 game at this time, and the A's had just scored, and it looked like it might be a game, and Severino had that the first 2 outs, but then Matt Chapman hit a high bouncer down the line that he was able to beat out for a 2-out single. And then Jung-Hoo Lee got a base hit to center field. It was kind of a soft line drive to center field. And Matt Chapman forced the issue. It was a beautiful display of base running in which he went first to third. And he didn't force the throw. Denzel Clark didn't have to throw to third, but he did, and it was offline and late, and that meant that Jung-Hoo Lee would be able to advance to second base. That's the kind of base running that really forces the issue and is so helpful to a rally. And then Severino got ahead of Adames 1-2. So Adames took 2 fastballs right down the middle. And so it was obvious he was looking for something slow. And Severino, what does Severino do? He throws him a changeup, and Adames lines it into left field for a base hit and 2 more runs. So just a bad decision, just bad pitch choices, both times with Adames, speeding up his bat and giving him a chance to get a base hit. If he had just stuck with his fastball on both those counts, the Giants probably don't score. Now, just a comment on Adames and his hot bat. You know, he is now hitting .225, and that is close to his season high. The best he's been at this year has been .230. But since he hit his low of 193, he has gone 27 for 85, which is a .318 batting average with 5 home runs in that time, which is half his total. So he has actually seemed to turn it around. I mean, the reason it really hasn't, I guess, been all that noticeable is because the Giants in that time have lost 14 out of 24 games. And remember, in that stretch, they had a 5-13 stretch within that time. And so a lot of his offensive production has gone fairly unnoticed because of the malaise from the losses. Remember, in that 5-13 stretch, that included getting swept by the Miami Marlins, losing 2 out of 3 to the lowly Chicago White Sox, and then the first 2 games with the Arizona series. But since then, they've gone 3-4, and things have started to perk up for the Giants. As I said, Adames is at 225 now, which feels like the mountaintop for him. At the last time he got up to 230, just a little caveat here, he went into a 6 for 68 funk, which dropped him down to 193. So you can never tell with Adames. I don't think he has given any fans any confidence at this point that he's able to sustain it. They'll take it, though, if they can get it. Just a note on one of the A's who probably won't make it to the All-Star team, but maybe should, and that's Brent Rooker. He's got 18 home runs. He's hitting .273. Those are good numbers, 48 ribbies. And just to, All-Stars are not chosen necessarily for the season that they're having specifically. Many times players are chosen for the lengthy work that they have on their baseball card. And, last year he hit 39 home runs with .297 batting average. That should be something that should be considered, right? I mean, he's continued at a nice pace off of a season that was indeed an all-star season. And just to, it's had nothing to do with the all-star team, but for perspective, at this time last year, remember, he had 39 home runs and hit .297 for the entire season. But at this time last year, after the July 5th game, he had 17 home runs and a 270 batting average. So he has the history of turning it on just before the All-Star break. And so you could look forward to even bigger production out of Rooker as we head into the All-Star break and beyond. I wanted to also mention that it's been really a joy to watch Max Muncy from his return. Remember, when he was sent down on April 20th, he was hitting 176. Mostly he was sent down because he was just not doing it on defense. Second base, he's just a mess. So they sent him down, and they actually put him at third base. And that's where he's been since he was recalled. And he has actually done a fairly solid job. His batting average is up to 221, so that's a 45-point jump since his return. When was that? June 8th, I think it was. And he's hit 245 since his return, 24 hits and 98 at-bats, with 6 home runs and 16 RBIs. So it's been good to see his development as a hitter and as a third baseman. He's actually played a solid third base. Not, top of the line third base. He's not going to be. He's not even going to come close to a Matt Chapman. But Max Muncy has done a solid job at third base. Now, I don't know if that's the plan to have Max Muncy as the third baseman of the future, but it could very well be. I mean, they do like his bat. They like the future that he holds, so that could be where he lands. And now that we have Zach Geloff at second base, up from his long stint on the injured list, it looks like the entire roster is rounding out. The starting lineup is made up of 100% A's organizational developmental players, and that's what we have on the field now. And Geloff, he's only had a couple games under his belt now up at the major league level, has not gotten a hit yet, but Geloff actually liked his swings in the first game against Verlander and had a couple good swings yesterday against Logan Webb. So just waiting for that first hit and for him to get going. Now, of course, the all-star starting shortstop, Jacob Wilson, big news for the A's, of course. The first starting player for the American League from the A's since Vida Blue in 1971. But there are some red flags going up in his game right now. He had to sit a game or two recently with some hamstring soreness. I don't know how you can recuperate your hamstring with just one game off here and another game there. So it may be an issue that troubles him for the rest of the year unless they give him a little more time off. But an indication of some of the difficulties he's had with his hamstring are that since he reached his peak at 372 basically about a month ago on June 8th, he's dropped to 333, which is still right up there with the best in the major leagues. But he has gone 15 for 73 since June 8th. That's a 205 batting average with just 4 RBIs. Just something to look out for. He's had some difficult times. I imagine his swing is affected by the hamstring issues that he's facing. That's the same thing with Rafael Devers. Devers has not been the hitter that the Giants had hoped he was. He's hitting 225 as a Giant, struck out 26 times in just 80 plate appearances, and has not showed his power. He's hit 2 home runs, 5 doubles. But you can see that he's laid on fastballs, especially fastballs inside. There are some that he's been able to get around on for big hits, but mostly pitchers are able to go up and in on him and get it by him. And I am truly convinced that has to do with his soreness. He has a groin injury that is lingering, and you can see in his base running that I was surprised that that Dallas Braden had not picked up on that part of Devers' story when Devers had to hold up at second base on a ball that others might have gotten a triple on in Game 1. There was a hint from Braden that maybe Devers was Hollywooding it, but no, he didn't have the news that Devers has been ailing with the groin injury. So anyway, that is an issue. Again, you're not going to completely heal from that by having a day off here or there. And Devers has not had a day off at all. And of course, he's just the DH, which doesn't stress him out that much. But he's had to run the bases and had to make some, hard charges around third base on plays at the plate. So there comes a time when you have to ask yourself whether it's worth it to risk ending the season by pushing his groin injury beyond its limits. So we'll have to see. The All-Star break coming up will definitely be good for him, but I think it's going to take more than just an All-Star break to heal him. Okay, so before I go further, I wanted to mention that I will be at tonight's game, and I'll be watching the Giants and A's play in the rubber match. And one thing that I know that it's going to be cringy for me is that the park will be filled with mostly Giants fans. It's a thing that that makes me feel just ill at ease, even though I do my podcast for both the Giants and the A's. It is just a point of just almost embarrassment that the A's will be the A's fans will be completely dominated by the Giants fans in their own ballpark. This is something that I mentioned in an article that I was quoted in the San Francisco Standard. John Shea, you know him, the former San Francisco Chronicle reporter. He's now working for the San Francisco Standard. He was the Major League Baseball writer for the Chronicle, and he basically covers the Giants now, though he does cover major leagues. Anyway, he did a piece previewing the series with a look at what's going on in Sacramento and how Sacramento has embraced or hasn't embraced the A's. And the piece is called "As John Fisher Dreams of Las Vegas, Giants-A's Showdown is Set for Minor League Park." And so, yeah, it was definitely a piece that looked at some of the substandard conditions that the A's are having to play in Sacramento, having to play in the AAA ballpark. So I was quoted as, talking about Sacramento fans and how they have responded to the A's as their home team. And here's my quote. Basically, I said, "Sacramento fans know this is a temporary thing. And I don't see them feeling the need to invest their heart and devotion to a team that they know will be gone in a few years." And that is what you see at the ballpark. What you're watching is half the stadium is filled with fans from the visiting team. You'll see in each series, whether it be the Chicago Cubs, the Padres, the New York Mets, the New York Yankees, the Seattle Mariners, at least half the stands are filled with fans of those visiting teams, and it becomes debilitating almost for the players to know that they don't have the stadium fully behind them, and that has come true in this series where Giants fans have outnumbered the A's fans, I'm going to say on a 2-to-1 basis, and maybe even more. And I'll be there tonight to kind of capture that. And also, before I forget, after the game, I'll be on Locked On A's. Booney, the host, is having me as a guest on Locked On A's on YouTube afterwards, and we'll have a word about the series and about the atmosphere at Sutter Health between the Giants and the A's. And so here's the rest of my quote. I said, "There's generally a malaise around the team, and it's kind of sad because there's a lot of great young talent to watch. If fans knew that they'd be there to see the players as they grew into their veteran form, you'd see a lot more enthusiasm, but there's a lot of detachment." And then I said, "The stadium is a AAA stadium, but they're selling seats and parking at Major League prices. If fans knew they had a Major League stadium to go with a team as their own, Sacramento would be a tremendous fan base." So that was my contribution to the John Shea piece in the San Francisco Standard. All right, just a quick look at the matchups for tonight's game between the A's and the Giants. It'll be Jacob Lopez, the left-hander, against Hayden Birdsong, the tall, rangy right-hander, both rookies. Lopez, you may not know this, but Lopez was first drafted by the Giants in the 26th round in 2018. Lasted only a year in the Giants organization before he was traded in 2019 for outfielder Joe McCarthy. No, not that Joe McCarthy. Not Milwaukee's Joe McCarthy. That Joe McCarthy turned out to be really a nothing for the Giants. He had a lifetime 10 at-bats for the Giants. That was the next year. He had not a single hit. So 0 for 10 in his entire Major League career. He actually wound up playing the last that he played with the Giants organization was 2021 in Sacramento, and he actually did pretty well. He hit, I think, 305 with 15 home runs for Sacramento in that, but that was it for playing for major league organizations. Then he played one final year in baseball, played in Japan before he was done. But here, Jacob Lopez has wound his way through. First, he went to the Tampa Bay Rays, and then was dealt along with Jeffrey Springs to the A's, and has become a pretty vital cog in that starting rotation. He has been really good for the A's. In fact, he had a stretch just recently of 4 starts where he went 23 and a third innings, gave up only 14 hits and just 1 earned run, no home runs, 29 strikeouts in those 23 innings. His last start, he did hit a bump against his old team in Tampa Bay. That was in Florida, in the minor league stadium there. That's where he went 3 and a third innings, gave up 3 earned runs, 5 hits, and only 1 strikeout. But though the A's did win that game, the A's have won in his last 5 starts after losing his first 4 starts. Though don't forget that 1 start within that 4-loss frame. He pitched a gem against the Philadelphia Phillies. 7 innings, 3 hits, just 1 run, 8 strikeouts, was given the loss. That was during the A's 11-game losing streak. So things just were not going their way at all. But Jacob Lopez was that little green shoot, showing a little hope there. And since then, he's been a mainstay in their rotation. And the A's have been gone 14 and 14 since that slide that eventually went to 1 and 21. But Jacob Lopez, another thing about him being a lefty, he will be going against a Giants team that is ineffective, just unable to hit lefties. So we'll see how well he does against the Giants offense tonight. And Hayden Birdsong, now he's kind of had almost the reverse direction from what Jacob Lopez. Lopez started out kind of slow, but Birdsong started out hot, and that was mostly out of the bullpen. Remember how the fans were crying for him to join the starting rotation after 8 outings from the bullpen. He had a 1.00 ERA, and so finally he was put into the rotation, and his first 3 starts were okay. 14 and 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, which is a 2.45 ERA. But since then, his last 5 starts, he has been erratic, hittable. You'll see him go the first 3 innings and he looks unhittable, and then suddenly he just loses it in the 4th or 5th inning. And so in those 5 starts, he's gone 22 and 2/3 innings, which is, 4 of those he didn't even make it past, 1 out in the 5th inning. In those 22 and 2/3 innings, he's given up 19 earned runs. That's a 7.54 ERA with a 1.68 WHIP. So we shall see which Hayden Birdsong shows up tonight, and which Jacob Lopez turns out tonight for the A's. And all right, so let's get to the answer to my trivia question. The trivia question was, which players in the Hall of Fame played for both the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants? They were, drumroll please, it was Goose Gossage. Do you remember him playing for both the A's and the Giants? Orlando Cepeda and Willie McCovey. I imagine there are probably a lot of you who knew Cepeda and McCovey played for both, but how many of you really did know that Goose Gossage played for both the Giants and the A's? All right, that is it for today. Thank you for tuning into Sacramento's Curveballs and Changeups with me, your host, Steve Harmon. You can find Sacramento's best baseball podcast on Apple Tunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Odyssey, the podcast app, and wherever else you can listen to podcasts. Please hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when my next podcast is up. I'm on Twitter, or what some call X, and Threads, and post my episodes there. If you see it there, please retweet or repost and tell your friends. It would be great to grow our baseball-loving community. All right, until next time, lay off the slider low and away.